Ross Bolen Podcast.
You better listen.
Welcome back to the Ross Bolen Podcast, otherwise known as RBP, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, back again, as always, with your co-host, Chris Coulson. Coles, we had a weird morning.
Weird morning. Early morning.
Early morning for sure.
Yeah, we're in the studio early today. Nice 10 a.m. start this morning.
And if people are thinking like, oh, that's good, the guys are getting up and grinding, trying to get after it, that's partially true.
Yeah, that is partially.
But also, we just wanted to catch this Warzone event that's happening at 12:30 and play video games in the middle of the day. So we figured we'd move our recording up. And as a result, I was trying to get to bed early last night. That didn't really happen. I didn't really sleep well. And I exited yesterday with a little bit like of a spell of depression.
Slight.
Yeah, slight. Like I had therapy earlier on in the day, and I had to address some things that sort of stuck with me through the rest of the day.
Sure.
That had me a little down, right? So I entered today, because I didn't sleep well, with an even heavier spell of that depression. And then Coles and I had planned to get out into my garage at 8:30 to do RossFit, to work out. Mm-hmm. And we go out there, and there's a homeless lady in my front yard.
Well, I could already tell something was a little up with Ross because he missed his first shot on the basketball hoop and then immediately picked up the ball and threw it full speed at the base of the basketball hoop.
Yeah, and I actually missed the first throw, which is just like twice as humiliating.
But regardless, the homeless lady was in the front yard.
And then it turns out there's this homeless lady in the front yard who probably saw that and was like,
yeah. Maybe that's what she was watching. Your basketball skills this morning.
Yeah, she was like, what's with Whitey? And she was a young black woman, and she was clearly mentally ill. Mm-hmm. She had she was trying to be in the shade, like about 3 feet behind your car, right?
Sure.
There's that big tree hanging right there. It's hot as fuck in Texas, and that starts when the sun comes up. It doesn't start at noon. Of course, it gets hotter in the afternoon, and 2:30, 3:30, that's the worst time possible. But it's hot in the freaking morning, man.
Oh, I mean, we're soaked in sweat at 8:30 in the morning working out already, and just being outside.
She had, been standing there for long enough to where the shade had shifted, and she had not made her way into the new shade. Shorts falling down around her ankles, and she was, dancing to the music that Coles and I had on. And the first thing I noticed is how many people were walking past her. Because everybody in my neighborhood in the morning is out walking their dog or going for a walk before work to get their day started or walking their baby. A lot of people pushing strollers.
A lot of strollers, yeah.
And every single one of them would cross to the other side of the street when they saw this woman. Mm-hmm. And as you noted, we saw some looks of disgust. People looking at her. You could tell considering, should I call someone?
Absolutely.
Do I call someone? So at one point during the game, during our workout and playing basketball, we usually shoot hoops between sets, which is why I say during the game, even though there is no game. I was like, I got to take this woman some water. And I went and filled up one of the permanent water bottles that I've been sent by a sponsor over the years. Liquid IV has sent me a couple. And this was not one of theirs. It was a different one. Filled it up with water, took it out to her, and said, do you need some water? And she said, yes, thank you. And I was like, you can keep the bottle. She's like, cool. And then I went back to working out, right? And she goes back to doing her thing. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of keeping an eye on her just to see what was going to, because in the middle of my neighborhood, you don't typically get homeless people. Now, in Austin, we have a lot of homeless people. It's something that I've talked about a lot on this show. Because it's an issue that obviously as a society we are not doing a great job of handling, homelessness.
No.
And
well, you can see it a lot in Austin because these not really impoverished communities, just the communities that are a little...
They're tent communities.
Well, no. Just to start even before that, a lot of the lower income communities are now being gentrified, and the property values are going up to the point where they can no longer afford to live in the neighborhoods that they were living in.
Right, so at a higher clip, people are being forced out of their homes.
Exactly.
And oftentimes when that happens, X% of those people are unable to recover and end up facing homelessness.
Sure.
It's not something that is uncommon to encounter even within friends and family at this point as I've gotten older. I have multiple friends, 3 different friends, in fact, that I can think of. One girl that I was very close with in college whose dad has been homeless for many, many years. He's homeless by choice, a street person.
Okay.
One of my good friends,
As in by choice that he can't get off something, or by choice
I'm
as
not
in...
sure about the
Sure,
exact
sure,
circumstances, but one of my best friends, best friends, has an aunt that is mentally ill and is now on the streets, actually here in Austin. Another one of my best friends' wife has a family member that is mentally ill as a result of addiction, or is homeless as a result of addiction, not mentally ill as a result of addiction, excuse me. And obviously those are the leading causes of homelessness, right? Mental illness and addiction and substance abuse. But it's not something that doesn't impact... what I mean is it hits close to home more often than I think people sometimes realize.
Sure.
And
for a lot of people. A lot of people that grew up in bubbles have no experience with it, that grew up in suburbia and things like that, and far-off cities. So I think it's good to... it's a good thing that you have people in your life that are going through that. It allows you to connect,
to have more perspective on it.
To have more perspective. Like watching you, the way that you handled it this morning was very, very commendable and respectable, the way that you wanted to look out for this woman.
And that's also the result of me having spent time around a lot of homeless people.
Sure.
Both because of community service that was court-ordered, I might add.
Look at the justice system actually doing something right.
It did. It really did put me in a place where, as a person who grew up in a suburban bubble, I was able to gain more perspective and have a more realistic outlook on the world as a whole.
Absolutely. Outside
of my bubble as a result of doing the community service that I was made to do by the court as a result of my misbehavior as a young man.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I have enough experience around the homeless and around people that are mentally ill and in need of help that it's not difficult for me to go and do that anymore. Now, in general, we obviously have to do a better job taking care of each other and taking care of our communities and not just look the other way when someone is in need and when someone needs help. And again, it applies to friends and family as well. So often we see someone who's struggling and it makes us uncomfortable. It makes us want to look away, or disgusts us, disturbs us. And we can't make room emotionally or mentally to consider the struggles of others, even enough to be there for them, to really try and connect with those who desperately need another human being to connect with. And it's sad that we've gotten to this place. And some of today's episode is going to be a little more serious up front because that's the vibes I have today. And we will get silly as shit later on with stuff to Wikipedia when you're high. So... you've got that coming, so stay strapped in. But I wanted to stay up front. This is something that's going to translate even into our first segment in a few minutes. This is just the intro. Welcome. And we just don't care enough about other people outside of... There's so much selfishness in 2020, which is weird because I really did think that a lot of this stuff that is going on this year would have given us, starting with the loss of Kobe Bryant, through the pandemic, through all of the shootings, the civil rights activism that's taking place, the election coming up, I really thought all of these things combined would sort of be a societal wake-up call, that we would end up looking outward more, not just internal, not just about our own needs and our own wants, about more in a communal way. And unfortunately, what I've kind of noticed over the past month in particular, because we had good momentum there, I feel like.
I would say at the beginning of the pandemic, maybe not the beginning, but I would say, let's say the pandemic in America really began around mid-March, right? I would say going into mid-April to early June, when we first thought we were starting to come out of the quarantine and everything like that, I thought we were really emerging into a society that was more worldly and well-rounded and loving than we went into the pandemic with. And then...
I know we were.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I felt and saw this shit.
Absolutely. And then pandemic round 2 came around, as in... It never really went anywhere.
Everybody realized it was going to keep going.
Exactly.
That this wasn't even close to over and that this was going to be a long, extended thing.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people just kind of, at that point, just kind of gave up and were like, fuck it, I'm just looking out for myself.
Yep.
I'm just trying to get through this on my own.
You're exactly right, Coles. And then, on top of that, the election, instead of being sort of another reason for everybody to have to take a step back and really look at the big picture, it's been the opposite, and it's sort of been reflected through the messages we hear from our politicians as well, which is the first thing we're going to be talking about in our first segment in a few minutes, so I'm going to stay away from that. But the point is this.
There's very little light at the end of the tunnel currently.
Yeah, nobody has really, not as many people as I had hoped have taken this as an opportunity, and it's gone completely back to fear.
Yeah.
Which is what we are going to talk about in a few minutes. But first, I wanted to share that tidbit about this morning. When Coles and I were leaving the house to come record, I made a little pack for this woman with some food in it and non-perishable food that she could eat real easy or whatever, and I put another water bottle in there. This one is from Liquid IV, actually. And then we couldn't find her. And I know she didn't run.
There was probably 10 minutes from the time that I got out of the shower that I saw her last to the time that we left the house.
It was less than that for me because I saw her across the street in front of my neighbor's yard. Then that neighbor was out gardening, and the woman was gone. Now, I don't know if she just happened to take a different turn than I was pretty positive the one that she would take, which is where we went to look for her. Point being, we couldn't find her to give her this pack, and I don't know if they called the cops on her or if they called whatever to come get her and put her back. So I don't know.
Sure. But
I just ask that anybody listening, we all need to do a better job, and this is something you can never really stop improving, of looking around and making sure we're taking care of people that we have the opportunity to take care of. That was an opportunity for me to do something for someone that I don't know anything about, and I relish those opportunities at this point in my life because there have been enough people along the way who have done things for me that didn't know anything about me or didn't know very much about me that helped me get to where I am, that it's my responsibility to pay that forward.
Absolutely.
And try to do things for people and help as many people as I can. And I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal or get on my soapbox here. It's just I've felt that retraction into selfishness, into fear, into being unable to look outward, not just from other people, but I've felt that internal struggle too. And this morning was an opportunity for me to try to turn that. And so I took it. And I think it can be something as simple as taking somebody a bottle of water that can help you start to turn around a day or a week or a mindset and really start to grow and develop. And I just ask that more people would try to take that opportunity throughout the rest of this year. As again, nobody has ever needed, there's never been more people in need of help in my lifetime than there are right now.
I would agree.
Here in the United States.
Oh, absolutely.
Internationally, there's all kinds of situations, and it's always been, people are always in need. But in America, in the United States, this is the biggest opportunity I've ever seen in my lifetime, in 33 years, for people to step up and be there for one another. So that's what I wanted to start today's show with.
The biggest thing to remember is when I start to feel like I'm spending too much time looking inwards and not enough time being a part of the exterior part of the world, being a part of
the bigger
whole of the world, everything like that. I like to remember that my birth, where I came from, and I was lucky enough to have a lot of opportunities growing up, and it's exactly what that was. That was luck. That was luck of the draw that I was born to who I was born to. I was born where I was born, and I was born the color that I was born. To be able to have some certain opportunities that have allowed me to realize that I do have privileges in this world that has helped me get to where I am today. Now, with that being said, at this point, with the realization of those privileges, it's now on me to give back, to help on to others, people that may have not had the same opportunities that I have had in my life.
And let me speak to something that you're touching on right now, too, because this came up yesterday. I was having a discussion with one of my best friends, Barrett Dudley, who hosts Oysters, Clams, and Cockles with me, and we touched on the fact, both of us, we were discussing basically the fact that privilege, the one we hear about the most is white privilege, right? You and I are both obviously white and have white privilege.
Yes.
But there's another layer to that, and it's like familial privilege or something. If you had both parents.
Absolutely.
If you have a big family.
Oh, there's lots of
And if everybody in the
privilege.
family has jobs and money and the ability, that's a massive net to fall back on that a lot of people do not have. A lot of white people too, but obviously it extends into minority communities more often than white communities. And
I mean, for going off that person that I've been texting recently, first generation American, she has no family in the country. You know, like she has immediate family, but that's it. And they moved here 7 years ago from a different country. I mean, could you imagine having that network compared to the network that we grew up with not only family but family friends? I mean,
sure,
there was
there are layers to that
there
shit
was
too.
an executive at a dinner party at my house probably once a month of some company that my mom worked with. You know what I mean? And to have that network growing up has helped me leaps and bounds. And so now I
things
feel
are
that
just a lot easier.
absolutely, and less stressful. I have done a lot of things in my power to be able to escape the shadow of growing up with parents that did very well for themselves because I want to blaze my own path. But at the end of the day, I do still know that if I had to fall back, I have a fallback. A lot of people don't have a fallback plan, you know?
No, and that is a massive privilege to have that safety net.
Absolutely.
And that extends beyond just being white.
Absolutely.
It's about your family friends, your friends as a whole, your whole life situation. The point is not to shame people like Chris and I, who have been fortunate enough in our lives to have a lot of those benefits.
Because, again, it's luck of the draw.
The point is to inspire people like Chris and I, who have grown up with a lot of those benefits, to recognize them and pay them forward. And it's not, you don't even have to look at it as paying it forward. Just fucking help people. Like, bro, you didn't need a lot of help. So now help people. Because most people aren't like you, and they need a lot of help. Like, life is hard as fuck. The world is an incredibly cruel place. And oftentimes, if you're able to avoid a lot of that cruelty, the instinct is to refuse to acknowledge it or to want to look away from it. Just like that homeless woman.
It's hard
because it makes you uncomfortable because you don't understand it. Things you don't understand make you uncomfortable and fill you with fear and discomfort and make you want to look away and turn away and run away and avoid.
When I was younger, the privilege word put me on defense immediately.
Oh, for most white people, it still does.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be told
that they didn't
that
do this on their own.
Earn everything they have.
Yeah.
Especially in the United States, where that is the dream. That's the whole American dream, is that this is a country where you can show up,
work your ass off,
work your dick off, and earn everything that you want. Right?
Everything you've ever dreamed of.
That's the dream. So for a lot of us who have basically been born into the American dream, where we already have all of that shit, it's not like we're some immigrant hopping off a boat and then working our dick off to try to get. It's there already. It's being handed to us, and we don't like to acknowledge that. Because it makes us feel like, whoa, I'm not as badass as I thought I was. It makes us feel like, then are people going to come take my shit? That's so much of this right now is like privileged people being afraid that the things that they're afforded will be taken from them somehow. And we're going to get to why that is in a few minutes. But first, RBP 326 is brought to you by Texas Home Locators. This is my cousin Andrew Bolen's company. And again, as I told y'all, the first read through, I believe last episode, maybe the one before that, when he hit me up, I didn't even realize it was him. And I just sent him on to our advertising guy to immediately forward it. Yeah, here's my guy, Matt. He's going to take care of you and anything you need. Without blinking an eye, he's my own cousin. Totally by accident. As I said, love you, Andrew. Very stoked for your company to be a sponsor and to get everybody in Houston and Texas as a whole set up with apartments and homes through Andrew and Texas Home Locators at TexasHomeLocators.com. Don't sign at your next apartment without getting paid. Texas Home Locators helps people find their next pad and pays them for it. Complexes pay them for sending you over to them. They share some of that money with you. That's how it works. It's very simple. If you have a place in mind, you can just shoot them a DM at Texas Home Locators on Instagram or text 281-815-0845. Again, 281-815-0845, and they'll see how much money they can send you. If you have no idea where to look, just give them a general idea of what you are looking for in an apartment, and they'll shoot you a list of the best places in your price range. You have nothing to lose if you're looking for a new apartment right now. One quick message means money in your pocket, and Texas Home Locators donates $50 for each apartment lease to a local food bank. All my Texas people, there are a lot of you who listen. big chunk of our listenership is Texas people. Here's how it works. Number one, contact them before you visit the next apartment complex at Texas Home Locators on Instagram or 281-815-0845 or texashomelocators.com. Number two, write Texas Home Locators down on the application. Number three, move in and get paid, baby. Again, this is my cousin Andrew Bolen's company, one of our newest sponsors, Texas Home Locators. This is Bolen Media. We've got a Bolen sponsor now. We are doing it. Love it. On to announcements and shouts. Happy birthday to Griffin Bubby Buck.
That's my boy Bubby, lacrosse buddy from back in the day. Happy birthday, man.
How many people think you think got the nickname Bubby or Bubba? Did you know in the South?
My dad's nickname in the Army was Bubba.
Did you know in the South? Well, because everybody, if like, there are probably 14 million people down here who call each other Bubba as their nickname or like a lot of people, it's just close friends.
Yeah.
You'd be like, "What's up, Bubba?"
I don't actually.
Which is weird for people named Bubba, because like
there are people named Bubba,
Bubba
in the
Watson.
world. Oh, true.
Famous golfer.
Yeah, famous golfer.
Just what if your name? What if Chris? What if Ross was some kind of fucking slang and people went around like, "What's up, Ross?"
I was
to
almost
people who weren't named Ross. I'd be like,
But I mean, if your name's Bubba, you got to know like Bubba's just rolling around everywhere. That's kind of a dope name to have. My name was almost Crank. Very close to being Crank. My parents had a naming party and Crank was second place. I was almost Crank Coulson.
I'm removing my sunglasses. Say that again?
My name was almost Crank Coulson. Like named after the movie Crank?
No.
No, that movie came later, but I wish.
But was it really almost Crank Coulson?
Yes. You know, it was seriously almost Crank.
Why?
Don't know. They had a naming
party. It's not
party.
a family name?
Nope.
Fucking uncle or some
I'm
shit?
pretty sure my dad's best friend that they played ball with back in high school, they still live in Charlotte, and they have kids that are my age, so they've been friends for forever and ever. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Tom was pushing the name Crank. And then Dad, like, was drinking and hopped on that.
Mr. Tom?
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. Mr. Tom.
Okay.
And Miss Tracy.
And your dad was drinking, and he was on board for Crank.
Oh, yeah. He was pushing Crank. And then I think Diane shut it down. She said no.
Thank God for Diane. Although I gotta say, man, if your name was Crank, would have been way better for content.
I agree. But I would have
If I told everybody, like, all right, I got a new co-host.
His name is fucking Crank.
His name is literally Crank. Everybody would have been so stoked on that.
That would have been the ultimate anti-AJ right there.
But
if you hired a man named Crank.
I also would have made you... I also would have made you do shit like
Crank,
strap. No, God, Coles.
Oh, okay.
Strap like electrical. What are the things called that you charge a car battery with? I would have made you strap those to your testicles like mid-show and stuff.
Testicles, not nipples.
Yeah, I went with testicles.
Jesus,
ouch.
Testicles. The jumper cables.
Jumper cables. I would have. Yeah, we would have done shit like that. Like make you smoke meth and shit like in the middle of the podcast. Because that was the whole purpose.
You would just make me.
Didn't we do a whole episode on
Crank? Yeah, you did.
A whole entire episode?
It might have been an. No, I think it was definitely an RBP.
It's time to crank, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, episode 119.
Yeah, you did an entire breakdown on Crank, and I think you touched Crank 2, or you said you were gonna do a Crank 2 review.
Yeah, we did almost 50 minutes on episode 119 about the movie Crank.
That would have been me.
It's the opening segment.
That would have been me.
And here's the wild part. There are 6 more segments after that.
Oh my God, what? How long was that episode?
We didn't have fuck all to do that day at work at Grand X. That's what that means. What the fuck? It's almost 2 hours long, the episode. But again, 50-minute segment to open on the movie Crank before spiraling into... I don't... There's a Send News with Jared Borslow in there, which I can tell you right now is terrible.
I'm just really glad I didn't get named Crank because that movie came out right after I was born, and I would have forever would have been associated with that movie. If that movie never came out, Crank may have been an acceptable name for my entire life.
No,
I think it would have.
Cranking, because cranking is still a masturbatory...
But then we could have had a segment called...
Synonym.
Cranks. And I don't know.
Crank call?
No.
You could have done all kinds of like...
Yeah, think of the content.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
I might change it.
That's what I'm... I might have to ask you to.
Hey, send me a DM for 2 things, actually. I need help from the gang. Steven.
Okay,
But
go
that's
ahead.
that's a family name.
Yeah, you can't lose that. Steve's great. You always have that to go to too.
Well, my dad's name, his first name's actually Steve, and then my granddad's name, his name is Steve.
My
so
dad's
it's
first
gotta
name's
stay.
Steve. Shouts to all the Steves.
Shouts
Go
to
ahead. What were you
Steves.
saying?
I need help from the gang on 2 things. 1, should I legally change my name to Crank? And 2, should I get a haircut? So that's what I'm working with in my life right
Your
now.
mom wants you to get a haircut, man.
She probably wants me to legally change my name to Crank, too.
I think I side with your mom.
On the crank
hair.
part?
On the haircut part.
on the haircut.
You've just gone full lax, bro. You look like you're ready to go fucking
I look like I'm at a summer tournament right now.
spin the spoon is what you look like you're ready to do. Are you wearing a lax shirt too?
Yeah. Shouts to the Hedgehogs.
Shouts to the Hedgehogs. Unbelievable. Anyway, happy birthday, Griffin Bubby Buck.
Shouts.
That was the longest birthday
he actually
shout-out we've
plays
ever done.
lacrosse for Roanoke. Shouts to Lax Bros. Look at that.
Hey,
Full circle.
Bunch of spoon spinners
Full
out there.
circle.
Bunch of spoon spinners. Hopefully that's not terminology for like some type of awful shit that I don't know about.
I'm gonna
Probably involving heroin.
while you're talking, I'm gonna Urban
Yeah, just
Dictionary
Google
spoon
spinner and make sure that's not like something I don't mean it to mean. Anyway, our Twitch streaming schedule. Some more announcements. Sunday, Monday, and Thursday, we're live at 7 p.m. Central on twitch.tv/bossrollin every week. BOSSROLEN. Twitch.tv/bossrollin. And we play Warzone. We play Fall Guys. It's fucking hilarious. We have a blast. Sometimes we smoke drugs. And we really enjoy
No, just
ourselves.
plants. No drugs, just plants.
Still drugs. Alcohol's a drug. The allergy medicine I took this morning was a drug.
That's true.
Drug doesn't have to
Fair.
have a
That's
negative
fair.
connotation to it, although it often does. And great gaming community we've built up. We have a blast. Discord community is awesome. Discord is like basically like Slack. It's a messaging, but just for members of the RBP gang, listeners of this podcast, supporters of our Twitch. So come to twitch.tv/bossrollin. Tune in next time. We're averaging almost 60 viewers per stream at this point. We've done over 100 hours this month we've put in. Over 850 hours total. Loving it.
The gang this month has
Fall Guys
been-
is pulling numbers, bro. People
absolutely.
love Fall Guys.
They love the little bean men.
But this afternoon, we're actually going to be streaming. It'll probably happen before this episode is live, but hopefully some of you will catch it. We're doing the Warzone event. They're unveiling some shit or something or other, and Coles and I have made it an excuse to play video games in the middle of the day on a Wednesday, which, frankly, I need, and I'm
I was
looking
gonna
forward
say,
to.
yeah, it's gonna be a good boost to your day.
Yeah.
Good boost the morale.
If you want to watch our episodes instead of just listen, youtube.com/Bolen Media, you can see us. Look, I'm double waving right now with both hands. Hello! youtube.com/Bolen Media. Watch episodes on YouTube if you want to see our shining faces. First segment.
Oh, I have an announcement first.
Okay, hit us with the announcement.
Spoon spinner is a thing.
Uh-oh.
What is it?
It's a drunk Irish idiot with a knack for being involved in comical situations. So, I mean,
That's awesome.
yeah, I was going to say, that's pretty great. I love being a spoon spinner.
That's wow. Glad it didn't end up being like something with like spinning heroin on a spoon while you cook it and then, sticking it up your ass.
The example is, I was so pissed last night, I found I took a poo in the fridge. And person 2 says, oh, you're such a spoon spinner.
I love the examples that they get. Are the examples written by viewers,
was gonna ask
or is
the
that
same
a
thing.
job?
Is that, does somebody have to read the definition and then
then
write
come
an
up with-
example for it, or is this submitted by the person that submitted spoon spinner?
I think they're submitted, and then there's a voting system, and the one with the most votes gets to be.
Oh, that's actually true.
Yeah.
This one's by 1010110101010.
Oh, that's my dog.
That's
my boy.
binary for something.
I know that guy
I bet it's binary for a cuss word.
for
Go
spoon
ahead.
spinning. First segment. Acting out of fear. So we talked a little bit about this earlier. We're going to get back into it some. Fear-mongering, which means using fear to stoke emotion and action out of people, right, has always been an issue, I mean, at least for a very long time in American politics. I want to almost argue that it's always been a part of just politics in general, not even just American. Politicians love to fearmonger, to use things to stoke fear in people that drives votes toward them, toward themselves.
Doesn't even
right?
have to be votes. I mean, when the coronavirus stuff was starting, all fear-mongering was used as a way to show people that it was like a serious thing. I mean, when CNN originally started talking about the coronavirus and quarantine first started talking, if you would watch one of the like the coronavirus intros to one of their news segments, like those animated intros they do.
The media notoriously awful at fear-mongering.
Oh my God. I mean,
It
it was
goes back
red
to
letters, death.
Dude, fuck the pandemic.
Yeah.
It used to be like back in the day when there was just we could all go outside and do whatever the fuck we wanted all the time and go to the movies and spit on each other and all that good shit that we used to do in America. It'd be like, tonight at 9. You'd be watching a basketball game, right?
Sure,
and it would be
sure.
like, tonight at 9, is your refrigerator killing you? Tune in at 9 to find out. And then
Yeah.
you'd go back to the game
Yeah.
and you're like,
Huh?
what the fuck? That's fear-mongering to drive
At
viewership.
9. Are communists sitting in your backyard?
Yeah, that's fear-mongering.
Yeah.
To drive viewership, to drive a reaction, unrealistic, outrageous statements made to incite fear in people. And holy shit, has that tactic peaked in 2020. And on all of the sides of the political spectrum, obviously the big two, based on what we've seen in these national conventions, they're telling us that one side is telling us that the other side will literally destroy the country and we will never recover. And then the other side is telling us that the side that told us that about the first side is the same exact message. They're literally going to destroy the country and we will never recover, which is like, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. It felt like we had this opportunity to level up as a people.
Absolutely.
To you know how individually you have to catch those waves and like level up to the next level of fucking, whatever you want to call it, wisdom, perspective. I mean, you grow as a human being throughout life if you're doing things correctly, and you catch these level up moments where either an event or some tragedy, or in some cases great, fortune causes you to level up. And I thought this shit
An
was
epiphanic experience that allows you to really...
Is epiphanic a word? That's a good word.
I hope so, because it's a great word.
I've been using
it
now.
a lot.
If it wasn't a word, that is one they need to add into Webster's. I thought it was going to give us that chance, though, and it felt like we were sort of heading in the right direction. And then, as I said at the top of the show, things we've just spiraled into this fucking chaos, and we're not focusing on the right things as a country. And we still can't find our way to each other across the aisle, even during 2020, the biggest wake-up call of a calendar year in my lifetime, and it's just bizarre to watch it unfold. We're actually widening the divide somehow when it felt like we had good momentum for a few months where real action and real conversations were taking place and real momentum had built toward real change, and then boom, you've got these conventions taking place. You've got another horrific shooting of a black man, Jacob Blake, in front of his in front of his kids that took place. You've got a non-cop white dude shooting a protester in Kenosha last night in Wisconsin during the protests over the shooting of Jacob Blake. And it's just ridiculous how out of control everything has spiraled. And when I tuned in for these national conventions from our politicians asking us to vote for either Joe Biden or Donald Trump, I was just kind of appalled by the general lack of
hope.
Yeah, man. Everything was so negative. And this is from both sides. We're not going to sit here and get political today and attack one conversation or the other. I mean, one side of the aisle or the other more than the other. It's just that when you look around right now at this country and what's going on here, you have to remember that everyone is to blame. It's not one side or the other. Both sides of the political spectrum, Republicans and Democrats, and the higher-ups in those organizations that run those organizations have put us in this position with their shit-ass leadership.
Absolutely.
Both sides got us to where we are today. There's not a lack of guilt on either side.
No.
Now, all the arguments and inter-arguing that can happen around the ifs, ands, or whats and the who is responsible for what, that's fine. Y'all can do that thing with yourselves.
But if you really look at the facts, you look at the last, say, 30 years.
You look at the whole fucking history of the country, both sides have fucked us royally over and over and over.
Well,
and over.
absolutely.
over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And everything's just become so highly politicized.
I mean, who's the first? Was it Thomas Jefferson back when they were writing the original Declaration when he said the two-party system is the worst thing that could ever happen for American government? I'm gonna
now
look
you
it
have
up.
to check if that's an actual Thomas Jefferson quote, because we always get these fake fucking political quotes at this point too that aren't even real, or they were said by some other guy and it's attributed to Thomas Jefferson and it was actually Marilyn Monroe.
Keep going.
You never know.
Look it up.
But when I'm listening to these conventions and listening to these politicians speak on where we are, and it's all focused on 2020, right? You never hear any apologizing. You never hear any, we haven't done a good enough job with blank, so we're going to be better at blank. It's always like, they haven't done a good enough job with blank. We are going to do a better job with blank, which they never end up doing. And just one fucking time, it would be amazing to hear one of these people that are in the most powerful positions in the world politically, to hear them say, we made a mistake. We fucked up. We didn't look at this correctly. We didn't take action fast enough in this arena. We didn't listen to enough people when it came to this. Like, just say sorry one fucking time instead of going out and blaming everything on the other side and doing the fear-mongering thing. Just fucking one time. It would be dope to hear an actual, truthful, non-skewed, we're at the point where when I'm watching this shit, I feel like I'm watching a fucking movie about a dystopian future.
Seriously.
Because it legitimately comes off as just like propaganda.
Symbolism everywhere, colors everywhere, bright reds, blues. It's very obvious that the message that they're trying to send, and it's not. You're lying to yourself. They're lying to themselves. They have to realize the America that we're living in and take a second, both sides, and take a second to truly look back on how we got here and look forward to how we can work together to fix this, to move forward as America, to stop living as the America that we think we should be, accept where we are, and move forward to the best of our abilities to create a place that's loving and worldly for everybody in this country and everybody around this country as well. There's no point in trying to blame people anymore for how we got here. We're fucking here now. It's all happened. Everything has happened to the point that has led us to the exact point that we're at now, and the way that the country is set up, and the way that the world is working, the way that the country is working. And now it is on us to accept that and to fix it and to do it as a society and move forward. And it's extremely disheartening when the only thing either side has to say are bad things about the other side. There's very little hope for the future. It's really just both sides are saying we need this position or else the country is going to crumble and fall apart. And that's the main message that I've taken away. And it's hard to hear that over and over again as a 21-year-old in this country.
It's just hard for me in 2020 to hear that. Like, it's the same shit as always, and it's elevated to even a further level of, like, there's no togetherness. There's just no attempt at togetherness anymore. It's just such a wide divide that it feels unconquerable, and that's frustrating to people, so they just run back to their side instead of trying to come toward the middle. And I'm telling you, like, the hatred, the vitriol, the despising of everyone that's on the other side opposite of you is going to get us fucking nowhere. And I know there are a lot of y'all who disagree with that, because I've heard from you. But I'm telling you, the more I look at this thing, the more I'm like, no. You have to remove hate from the equation. I hate to sound like a cheese dick, but like love is the answer? I don't know. You've got to be kind to each other and look out for each other, and we can't think so selfishly anymore, and we certainly can't listen to these fucking idiots on our TV. You know what the most despicable part of watching the conventions was? At one point, they ran Melania Trump up there, our First Lady of the United States of America. And first off, I want to say, just a stunningly beautiful woman. Second, dressed like a dictator, which was hysterical. Third, she was the most poignant and, I guess, listenable, if that's a word. It's not. She was the most enjoyable speaker of the entire night. And she's a fucking second generation, or a direct immigrant from Slovenia or wherever she's from. Now I'm horribly disrespecting her. Now I have to look it up. I mean, and she's the only one who spoke to any of the issues that, yes, Slovenian American. Wow, look at that.
Look at that.
So fucking cultured and educated. She's the only one who spoke to any of the issues I wanted to actually hear about, which is laughable.
Pretty much.
And I mean, from both the fucking conventions, she's the only one who said shit that I was like, wow, it's really fucked up that I agree. Now, she also said a lot of shit that I was like, bitch, what? But, and I mean no disrespect, except for the disrespect that's due. There were things that she said that I was like, oh, fuck me. Do they have a gun to her back at the moment? But there was other shit that she said where I was like, damn, okay, she's actually acknowledging the civil rights issues we have across our country, speaking to them in a more direct way at least, than literally every single other Republican that was run up onto the stage or piped in from wherever the fuck on camera in these awkward speeches, bro. A lot of which got leaked beforehand so you could read them as they were reading them, and it was just like the most, I mean, no one actually says anything.
No, it's the same message, just different words over and over again about how we're going to make America great again.
No one ever says anything on the other side either, to be clear.
No.
Nothing
That's
productive.
the same thing, and it's just a different slogan.
Obviously, we have politicians on both sides that are good and are not shit. But for the most part, the ones we see at the top that get run out of these conventions, they're fucking awful. And they say things that make me want to die. And then there was like this light bulb when Melania Trump, the first lady, by the way, who's not even supposed to be speaking to political shit at these conventions or whatever. Apparently that's like a thing. I don't know if it's a law, but it's like a one of those unspoken things. Like the first lady's not supposed to talk like
Real
party politics.
Yeah, it's supposed to like kind of how Michelle Obama is much more about, feed the children and that
Well, Melania has her shit too. It's just,
yeah,
it's just got the worst name ever. It's called like now I have to look this up as well.
As a lawn care guy, though, right now I have some beef with Melania. She fucked with the White House's Rose Garden.
It's called Be Best.
That's what it's called? Be Best?
I'm not joking.
Oh.
Be
best of life?
It's a public awareness campaign
To be
focused
best?
on well-being for youth and advocating against cyberbullying and particularly opioid use.
Okay, have you seen
But it's
TikTok?
called
We need more
Be
cyberbullying in this world.
Best. Be
Like just the letter
best.
B or BE?
We do not need more cyberbullying, Coles. Take it back.
No, that was just a joke.
I
It was
know,
a joke.
right. But people never know when we're joking anymore.
But it was like so like when I grew up, like we were like hardcore anti-bullying campaign when I was in like middle school and high school, and now we have all these TikTok kids that obviously don't have enough people keeping them in check.
They should be best.
Also, real quick, it was John Adams that said the two-party system was a horrible idea. He was a different founding father. Apologies. Thomas Jefferson was one of the perpetrators of the two-party system. But also, it just makes me... the older I've gotten, the more that I've realized we're just like... It doesn't matter what you believe. If you really break it down, the things that I know, we're sacks of flesh on a floating rock in the endless abyss of space. Why the hell are we so angry? Why are we so angry? We were blessed enough to be born onto this planet. We were blessed enough to have the chance to explore this life, to live whatever this may be. We have a very finite amount of time on this planet
angry?
to
Who
walk
are you
around.
asking?
People just seem angry. People seem upset. Like nobody wants to.
Man, I'm fucking
both
angry.
sides-
This shit is insane.
Well, okay, I'm angry at this. I'm saying people in the political system are angry at each other as opposed to attempting to love across
because
the
it
aisle.
works for them. That's the thing people are failing to see. All of this shit they're spewing works for them.
Because it
But
may-
not us.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for the people. It's just about politics and keeping politicians in their political power. That's it. There's no and the problem I'm seeing is that like the failure to acknowledge that a lot of this is literally propaganda at this point. Literally. Not that's my opinion. It's a fact. A lot of what we're seeing is propaganda. It's not real. It's fucking bullshit that is organized to get you to think and act a certain way. which I'm not cool with, obviously, as a freedom-loving American. That disturbs me a great deal to see propaganda being put out constantly that people buy into and don't even stop to question.
Yeah, like the fact that the GOP came out and said that they're only running on Trump's reelection, there's no platform, is a scary
Well, the platform is to reelect Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's it. That's the basis of the GOP's platform, and the basis of the DNC's platform is just to get Joe Biden elected to get Trump out. And there's really I've heard very little discourse on what actually wants to be done by either party if they're to be elected. Very, very little discourse.
Also, if you are a Republican and you're listening, I don't know. I guess please just try to vote with your thinking outside of just about you, all right? If you're a Democrat and you're listening, please acknowledge the fact that, like, these people that are at the top of the Democratic Party's leadership have never had a better opportunity to step in and turn shit around, and they have completely shit the bed time and time and time again for most of my life, really. And that's why we have these wide swings from left back to right, back to left, back to right, and it's just getting ridiculous. So with November coming up, I want to have a conversation very quickly about why we vote, how we choose who we vote for, and what our elected officials in this country are meant to actually do. So why do we vote? To ensure that we individually are represented selfishly, just in our own homes? Or is it to ensure all Americans are in the best position possible for this country to succeed? Basically, it's like, is this a team? Or are we all on our own duking it out, seeing what we can get for ourselves? Because it seems like it's the latter, and it seems like that's gone horribly wrong. And like, it's just a question to ask yourselves. For me to ask myself as we approach November. For all of us to ask ourselves, why do I vote? What am I voting about? What is the point of me casting a vote? What am I trying to accomplish with my vote? How do I choose who I vote for? Is it based on what I see on TV? Is it based on these conventions that I watch or don't watch? Is it based on headlines that you read on the internet? Do we actually read and do research about our candidates, or are we just going to go out and do the whole, like, what we've seen online and recognizable names and faces thing? Are you going to only focus on the national presidential level election? Are you going to focus on the local level too? These are all questions we need to start asking ourselves probably several years ago. But right now, if you haven't already, because it's August 26th. August is almost gone. And election season is drawing even more near. So let's all make a more concerted effort on both sides to do our research, do our due diligence, and cast votes for representatives who actually represent us and what we think is best, not just for our individual fucking selves and families, but for the country as a whole. Every selfish act begets another one. And that snowball gets you to where we are now. But you can undo this shit. There's always a road back in life. Is this one a complicated one? Absolutely. But the more of us that act righteously, correctly, not just thinking about ourselves, taking into consideration bigger picture issues, other people's perspectives, doing all the things we've talked about over the past several months, the better off we will be. And slowly we can unravel this fucking shitball. It's not a snowball anymore. It's poo. It's just poo. And we need to get rid of the poo. The poo-poo has to go. It's not drain the swamp. It's unravel the poop ball. 2020.
And you know what? Just start.
That's my platform when I run. Unravel the poop ball.
Unravel the poop ball. And just start small, too. Realize that you can make a big difference just being able to make a small impact in your own community. If you can help around your own community, give back into your own neighborhood, protect your own neighborhood, and become a more loving community, that's going to help more than... I mean, Your vote in November
bleeds
is
into
huge.
everything. It bleeds into everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Your vote in November is huge. Don't get me wrong, but being able to start small and make an immediate impact in your close-knit community, that's a very important thing to do as well. So pay attention to your local elections. Pay attention to your state elections. Do everything you can to get out and make a difference in your community. Clean up your community. Take care of your community. Meet people in your community. That's super important as well.
And
really just love people.
Throw out your fucking party label and just vote for the candidates. Just vote for candidates based on what they say and believe and what. Get rid of the party labels for yourself.
Last thing, too, if you're voting by mail, which I'm going to have to vote by mail, apparently it's going to be quite the process this year, and you really need to pay attention on it and attempt to do your best to vote.
You have to vote by mail. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're going to be one of the mail voters.
Yeah, I'm going to be an absentee voter.
You're going to be one of the fraudulent ballots that causes this election to go awry, aren't you?
Yep. I'm Russian. That's
Indeed.
me. I'm hacking the election via mail. But yeah, make sure...
You are Russian, yes?
Oh, yes.
Da.
Russian, blue... never mind.
Da.
But yeah, from everything I've read, try to get everything set up and ready to vote by early October to guarantee that your vote is counted.
Remember, it's not just about you. It's not just about you. You got to think for the country as a whole, for all Americans, and really, based on the United States' influence internationally,
the world.
No pressure. RBP 326 is also brought to you by Birddogs, makers of the most comfortable all-purpose shorts in the fucking world. You can literally wear them to do anything, anywhere, at any time. They're gym shorts with a built-in silky soft inner liner that makes underwear obsolete. Shockingly comfortable, honestly. They have pants, too, now. Pants that you can go play golf in or go to the office in or whatever. They're stretchy. They're comfortable. They're the same material as the shorts. They're incredible. Birddogs makes pants that feel just like with the shorts, like you're wearing nothing. Like you're walking around with just a top on, doing the Pooh Bear. Winnie the Pooh. That's the style for the rest of 2020. They dry faster than a bathing suit. Birddogs. You can hit a workout, jump straight into the pool, get out, dry off in the sun, then wear them to drive around in your Tesla because you have a Tesla now. Then drive that Tesla back home. Wash it with your golden retriever Elvis because you're wearing Birddogs and you can do anything. Again, birddogs.com. The code is RBP. When you check out, they'll throw in a free pair of nunchucks. The nunchucks are back. They've got pants. They're breathable. They're summer friendly. You're golfing your dick off in pants that now are comfortable and let your legs and balls and butt survive. Perfect for the golf course or the office or a nice meal out on the town, the Birddogs pants. They look great. Nobody will even know you're 1,000 times more comfortable than they are in your Birddogs pants. Go to birddogs.com. Promo code RBP when you check out. Free pair of nunchucks. Birddogs.com. Code RBP. Boom. Free nunchucks with your order. Enjoy your Birddogs. You will never want to take them off. They are a safe space for all your most valuable possessions. Next segment.
Grab your light. This is Stop the Wikipedia when you're high.
Stop the Wikipedia when you're high.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I feel better now.
Yeah.
I feel better. I've calmed down.
If you guys didn't know, these mics are also bongs. So when the Stuff to Wikipedia When You're High music plays, it's really just us ripping the mic every time.
Ding, 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 ding. By the way, Sam O'Hare, the musician who made our lovely intro music and our Stuff to Wikipedia When You're High theme song, as well as several other tunes for this show, I believe he just dropped his first single.
Really?
His first ever official single, Sam O'Hare. It's SAM, spacebar, O-H-A-R-E, Sam O'Hare. And I swear to God, if I'm not mistaken, yep, I'm pretty sure, yep, debut single, Southern Lovin', out now on all streaming platforms by Sam O'Hare. So I wanted to throw Sam a little bit of love for all the love he's shown us over the years, for the incredible theme song and the music. Sam O'Hare, Southern Lovin'. It's available on all streaming platforms. There's no G on the end of Lovin'. It's just Lovin'.
Nice. Well, he crushes the sitar on that one. Crushes it.
All right, our first Stuff to Wikipedia When You're High today, because we've got two, because we need to get a little silly after all that seriousness,
A little goofy.
is the 1904 Summer Olympics. Christopher, tell me about them.
Oh, they were quite a hoot, my friend.
Make
Specifically the
Make me laugh.
Specifically the 1904 men's marathon is what we're going to be discussing today.
A word?
As that event was, again, quite the hoot. It was quite a good time. Actually, it was a terrible time.
It was the men's marathon at the 1904 Summer Olympics in St. Louis.
Correct.
Okay.
It was about 90 degrees that day, which is quite hot to be running a marathon. That marathon That marathon was actually only 24.85 miles as opposed to the normal 26.2, yet still only 14 out of 32 contestants managed to finish the race.
Hold on.
Which is less than half.
I didn't know you could jack with the distance on marathons. I thought it had to be...
It was back in the day. I don't think they really... Oh, just wait until I get into the rest of this. I think questioning the distance is going to be the least of your concerns.
Is 26.2 the one everybody gets a sticker on their car, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, look at me, I ran in a marathon. That. By the way,
my mom's run like 4 marathons, 3 or 4 marathons.
I want to say my dad did like 8.
Really? My mom did these when
he
she
did
was
like the unhealthy amount though. He was doing like 3 a year and shit. When he was like 55, and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing, bro?"
Got into it at like 48 or so, and was just crushing it for like 3 years.
Look, I get it. You got to find shit to do. Y'all marathon people are fucking crazy though.
Insane.
And then you slap the stickers on the back of your car that say 26.2, shaming the rest of us who have... I run 2 miles, man, and I'm done. That's it.
Yeah.
26.2 miles?
It's like 4.5 hours for most people. For most people, for an average pace.
What the fuck was the point of inventing the bicycle or the car?
Dude, I'm going to get into how marathons came around, too. They're just dumb.
The golf cart. Okay, let's talk more. Keep going.
So it occurred on August 30th of that year, which again, if you've ever been in Missouri in August, you know it's a quite hot one. It's a little bit of a scorcher out there.
Toasty one.
So the race did indeed become quite the interesting event, mostly due to poor organizing and officiating.
And this is the Olympics, so you wouldn't expect that.
This is the Olympics, yeah. This is the Olympics.
In the 1900s, no less.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is 1904, so we're still early. But, I mean, regardless, at this point, you would think they would kind of have their shit together a little bit.
I'm going to Google things that have been invented by 1904 while you talk.
Cars, because cars were used here. So the first to arrive at the finish line was Fred Lors. Well, the thing about Fred Lors, he had actually dropped out of the race around mile 10, and he hitched a ride from one of the officials in a car because he was too tired to continue going.
What?
So he hops in the car, he gets to about mile 23, and then the car breaks down.
Okay.
So he hops out of the car, proceeds to jog the rest of the way past the finish line, presumably spraying some water on his face to look like he had actually tried, crosses the finish line, claims first place, gets his photo taken with Alice Roosevelt, daughter of Theodore Roosevelt, who was there for the event. And then finally somebody, and keep in mind, while he's in the car with the official riding to the finish line, he's waving at patrons and other officials on the sides of the road in the car. So finally somebody says, "Yo, dude, this guy drove in a car for like 9 miles." And he goes, "Oh, dude, no. I was just messing around, man. Like, I was just joking. Trust me. I was just kidding."
Hold on. You're telling me at the 10-mile marker, this fool said, "I'm out.
Yes.
I'm done."
Correct.
And they were like, "All right, we'll give you a ride."
Yep.
Then the car broke down, and he was like, "Hold up, light bulb, bling, opportunity," and decided, "I'm just going to fucking cruise the rest of this thing and pretend like I was not just riding in a vehicle."
That's correct.
And then, and this worked.
And this worked for
They took a photo of him and
with
shit.
Alice Rose with
the president's nephew or
daughter.
whatever you said, daughter,
Does that have a name?
uncle.
The first daughter? Is that a thing?
No.
Anyways,
No,
that was good old
just-
Fred Lors just playing a little hanky-panky. The AAU immediately responds with banning him for a year from competition, but he does go on to win the Boston Marathon legally a year later in 1905.
What a fuck.
Yeah.
What a fucking asshole, dude.
So
And
then
then he was like, no, fuck all y'all. I'm going to show you. I'm going to win the Boston Marathon by not riding in a car.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Fred was actually, I don't know why he dropped out at mile 10. Oh, keep in mind the only water stop on this entire 25-mile race was on mile 11, and it was in a well. One singular spring well on mile 11. That was the only water in 90-degree heat.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no wonder it was shorter.
So Thomas Hicks ended up the winner of the event, although he was aided by measures that would have not been permitted in later years. 10 miles from the finish line, Hicks led the race by 1.5 miles, but he had to be restrained from stopping and lying down by his trainers. From then until the end of the race, Hicks received several doses of strychnine, a common rat poison, which stimulates the nervous system in small doses, basically like injecting Adderall straight into your veins to boost you up.
But if Adderall was
actually basically
poison.
Meth, just injecting meth straight
there
into your
you
veins. Mixed with brandy. That was the serum that they were using to get him up and going.
Why was brandy
and rat
needed?
poison? Brandy and rat poison.
I mean, I get how maybe rat poison would get the body
I think brandy
going.
was like, that's what they put in the big fluffy dogs that were on the mountains to keep people warm. So maybe they were thinking it would like give them a boost. You know what I'm talking about? St. Bernards. You ever seen that? St. Bernards with the barrel on their collar filled with brandy? Yeah, so that if people stuck in avalanches, the St. Bernard would find them, dig down, and then you could drink the brandy to warm up your innards. I'm not kidding.
I thought that was like a wives' tale. Like booze
No.
doesn't actually warm you up. It constricts the blood vessels and actually cools you down.
Well, it might not, but that's what they had in the collars of those St. Bernards back in the day was brandy.
I think it's just because they're all alcoholics.
Well, that could be the case as well. But he continued to battle onwards, hallucinating, barely able to walk for most of the course. And when he reached the stadium, his support team carried him over the finish line. Keep in mind, this is a guy that legally won the race. And holding him in the air while he shuffled his feet as if still running. So his buddies literally carried him across the line. He's not even touching the ground. He's just floating.
And this counts?
And this is the guy that won the race.
You can be carried across.
Not anymore, but again, these things would have not be permitted in later years, but back in 1904, they were letting a couple things slide. Also, considering that half of the contestants literally did not finish the race, I think they were letting a couple things slide. I read also that this was the longest marathon in Olympic history, the average times being at least 30 minutes beyond what most people would expect in later years.
Good Lord.
And so Hicks had to be carried off the track and might have died in the stadium had he not been treated by several doctors immediately. He lost 8 pounds over the course of the 4-hour marathon.
That's a lot.
Another near fatality during the event was William Garcia of the United States. He was found lying on the road along the marathon course with several internal injuries caused by breathing clouds of dust kicked up by the cars that the officials were running on the side of the road.
Oh, this is not a well thought out marathon at all.
Yeah, so your boy Fred Lors, he was in that car that went by earlier. Yeah, and then our boy Garcia was just sucking up that dust the whole time, and it scraped up his lungs so bad he almost died on the side of the road.
Respect to Fred Lors, again, with the most brazen attempt at cheating in a marathon of all time.
Our lovely postman, shout out USPS, Andarian Carvajal joined the marathon, arriving at the last minute. After losing...
Andarin. It's got to be.
Andarin? Andarin? I said Andarin, right?
I don't know.
Whatever.
Whatever. Andarin.
Yes. Carvajal. Joined the marathon, arriving at the last minute. After losing all of his money in New Orleans, he hitchhiked to St. Louis and had to run the event in street clothes that he cut around the legs to make them look like shorts.
This is the Olympics.
Hitchhiked there. This is the Olympics. He literally hitchhiked from New Orleans to St. Louis because he lost all his money gambling in New Orleans. He had not eaten in 40 hours, so he stopped off the side of the course at an apple orchard to try to get some energy to finish the race. He ends up picking a rotten apple and ends up having to drop to the ground with stomach cramps and had to lie down to take a nap. Despite falling ill from the apples, he finished 4th place after the nap. Woke up, kept jogging.
This guy lost all of his money in New Orleans.
He's a postman, keep in mind. He's literally a mailman.
He hitchhikes to St. Louis to participate in the Olympics in street clothes, cuts around the legs to make them shorts instead of pants, hasn't eaten in 40 hours, crushes some apples in a random orchard en route. The apples are rotten. He gets sick. He gets 4th place.
He also took a nap. You forgot the nap.
Unreal.
Then,
what were the other contestants doing while he was napping? How long was the nap? These are the details that we just don't get through our basic Wikipedia research that you can perhaps find through deeper and more detail-focused research. But that's a question I have. If it was a 3-minute nap, then fuck it. If it was an hour and a half and still he got 4th place, then everyone else in this race is an asshole.
I'm gonna guess 30-minute nap. I think he made it 30 minutes. I mean, the aerodynamic trouser shorts had to help him get a nice lead first. And his lightweightness from not eating in 40 hours had to help too.
Maybe.
The only source of water, like I was saying, the only source of water for the competitors was at about the 11-mile marker. James Sullivan was the chief organizer of the Olympics and decided to only allow one water station on the 25-mile course over the marathon, even though it was a 90-degree day over unpaved roads choked with dust. His reason was to conduct research on purposeful dehydration, even though dehydration is potentially fatal. The marathon ended with a worse ratio of entrants to finishers, 14 of 32, and by far the slowest winning time, 3 hours, 28 minutes, and 45 seconds. Almost 30 minutes slower than the second slowest winning time.
Like in Olympic history?
In Olympic history, yes. Also, so I skipped this guy. French immigrant Albert Corey arrives, but he doesn't have the correct French papers to race for the French teams. And because he had just immigrated to America from France, America was like, fuck it, we'll take him. And he ends up finishing 5th, I believe.
This has always been weird to me about the Olympics and World Cup. They'll be like, we always have like a bunch of German dudes on our World Cup team. Like the Germans who weren't good enough to make the German team but have dual citizenship. And so they just come play for our shitty-ass soccer team.
This guy didn't even have U.S. citizenship. The Americans were just like, oh, you moved here? Fuck, we'll take you.
Hey, Albert's here. All right, throw him in line.
Yeah, the
Whatever.
French didn't want him, so we
Guys
picked
are
him up.
napping mid-course, taking car rides for 10 miles and shit. Who cares?
Yeah, at this
Throw
point.
Albert in.
Yeah, but I don't know. So, yeah, that was your 1904 men's summer marathon, but marathons are so weird to me, man. I mean, they literally began from a guy running from Marathon to Athens, and then at the 26-mile marker, when he reached Athens, he died. And so they're like, we'll run 26 miles, and if we don't die, we're like beasts? I don't know.
We do great. Why am I Russian again, yes? Do not know. Happens all the time now. Cannot stop myself from breaking out into Russian accent.
We drove the G-Wagon today to present the mafia aesthetic.
What a fucking ridiculous 1904 Summer Olympics, the men's marathon in St. Louis that wasn't even a full marathon length, where people were driving in cars, taking naps, eating rotten apples, participating in the wrong country's team. Chaos. Utter chaos. And yet, there is more. Your second stuff to Wikipedia when you're high for the day is Samantha Smith. Samantha Smith reminds me of Greta Thunberg.
I was going to say reminds me of pop singer Sam Smith.
Is it Thunberg? I love Sam Smith.
I do too.
Massive Sam Smith fan.
What a voice.
Bless us with another album. He's like
vocals.
the male Adele.
He really is. He crushes.
But gay.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying he's
Adele's
the male
not
Adele,
gay. Okay.
but they both like men. So all the
So
heartbreak
actually,
being
they're
written
even
about
more
is
male
just about
Adele.
men breaking people's hearts. What I'm saying is, Sam, if you need just one more of those, just one more heartbreak album, I could use it. Hit us with it.
Oh, I was saying I thought you were going to say if he needed one more heartbreak, you could give it to him.
No, I can't give him that.
Okay.
I can't break Sam Smith's heart. I'm sorry. I know there
Not
are
even
people
for the
out there
content.
who are like, Ross, we need you to be the one who breaks Sam Smith's heart to get us that next album. And I'm like, I can't do it.
So then he's just the gay version of The Weeknd. Every time they get heartbroken, they release bangers of albums.
I don't think The Weeknd needs the heartbreak. He's just on. He's just
I don't
also.
know. I think his albums when he's been dating somebody have not been as good as the albums that he's been broken up with.
Maybe. I don't know this about The Weeknd. I can't speak to The Weeknd on this
All right,
matter.
fair.
I'm a Weeknd day one guy. His pain, a lot of it's like drug derived and just being generally depressed.
Oh, that's true.
But yeah, then he started dating people, and I don't know when the fuck did he not? What album from The Weeknd was not fire?
Not the most recent one, but the one before that one.
I'm pulling it up on Spotify, but I almost definitely disagree with you. Anyway, Samantha Smith, American schoolgirl, peace activist, and child actress from Manchester, Maine. She gets super famous during the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. In 1982, she wrote a letter to the newly appointed CPSU General Secretary Yuri Andropov and received a personal reply with a personal invitation to visit the Soviet Union, which she accepted. Smith attracted extensive media attention in both countries as a goodwill ambassador, becoming known as America's youngest ambassador and subsequently participating in peacemaking activities in Japan. With the assistance of her father, Arthur, an academic,
Wow.
she wrote a book about her visit to the Soviet Union, Journey to the Soviet Union. Later, became a child actress, hosting a child-oriented special on the 1984 United States presidential election for the Disney Channel, and playing a co-starring role in the television series Lime Street before her death at the age of 13. On August 25th, 1985, in the Bar Harbor Airlines Flight 1808 plane crash. So on August 25th, 1985, Smith and her father were returning home aboard Bar Harbor Airlines Flight 1808 after filming a segment for Lime Street, and while attempting to land at Lewiston Auburn Regional Airport in Auburn, Maine, the Beechcraft 99 commuter plane struck some trees 4,000 feet above, short of the runway, crashed, killed all 6 passengers and the crew aboard, the 2 crew members aboard. And this is where it gets weird. Obviously, the story just is like this young American girl who becomes a symbol of peace during the Cold War and goes over to the Soviet Union and writes a book and then stars in a TV show.
Sure.
That's all wild enough. But then she passes away in this plane flight, this accident, this horrible tragedy at age 13. And there was a lot of speculation regarding the cause of that accident.
Well, the first thing that strikes me is struck trees about 4,000 feet short of the runway. I feel like that's not... At 4,000 feet short of the runway, you should still have some altitude, no?
You would want it, I would think.
Yeah, that seems a little...
To land safely.
I've met some pilots in my day, and none of them be flying 4,000 feet.
Into trees?
Into trees.
I would hope not. That's not good piloting at all.
At least no.
Denzel Washington on cocaine and alcohol did a much better job than that. I saw it.
Exactly.
Accusations of foul play circulated widely in the Soviet Union, meaning that they believed
that the
United States had taken her out in an attempt to stop the feeling of, lessening that gap between the U.S. and the USSR. Back in the USSR. An investigation was undertaken in the United States, and the official report, which did not show evidence of foul play, was made public. But so there was all this conspiracy theorism around the death of this 13-year-old and her father, and tied into the Cold War, and just all in all, another wild stuff to Wikipedia when you're high. Samantha Smith, rest in peace. Hate to lose a kid like that.
This was an 80... Damn, that's
such a young age.
If this was foul play, we were so close to the end of the Cold War. That's so sad for this poor girl.
Foul play, always suspected. Always.
That's true.
Always
Actually,
suspected.
that's
RVP 326 is also brought to you by ResQUp. ResQUp is a fall and recovery and mobility device that helps people safely get up from the floor following a non-injurious fall. It's Call Your Grandparents Month. So many of our grandparents can use a ResQUp. I got my grandma one. Grandma Bolen is using the ResQUp. It's simple to use and transport. Doesn't involve electrical motors, hydraulic controls, or expensive lift accessories. And the fact is, 1 of every 4 seniors over age 65 falls at least once per year. A lot of them are unable to get themselves up after a fall. And there's really no safe way to lift an individual from the floor. The OSHA states that the maximum weight a worker can lift is 35 pounds. That's why there's so many work-related injuries due to lifting people. People typically weigh more than 35 pounds. The ResQUp system solves this problem by helping people get up from the floor either by themselves or with little help from another person or caregiver. It can help those who are alone at home to get up from the floor after a fall or to get down to the floor level to play with pets or babies or access hard-to-reach cabinets. Again, got my grandmother one. Easy to use, easy to set up. She loves it. Wanted me to make sure that I told everybody how much she loves it. Grandma, this is me doing what you told me to do. Go to ResQUp.com, ResQUp.com, to learn more about how the ResQUp can benefit you or your loved one or family member. Enter the code ROSS when you check out, ROSS, at ResQUp.com. ResQUp.com, code ROSS, immediately 10% off, plus free shipping. 10% off, plus free shipping. That's ResQUp, ResQUp.com, code ROSS. Get in there.
If only ResQUp made one for the mind. I'd be all over that shit.
I would too. But get one for your grandparents. The Call Your Grandparents Month is coming to a close. Remember, call your grandparents. August is almost gone. It's come and gone, just like that.
Dude, that was the fastest month of all time.
Have you gotten enough calls in with your grandparents? 4 or 5 days left. I'm not sure if this is one of the 31-day months. I never know. Not great with calendars or counting. Call them every day. You got a few more days left in here, and then make it a habit. Schedule calls with them every month. Call your fucking grandparents. Get them a ResQUp from ResQUp.com.
to 31 months.
Do it now! Get to the chopper! Before you head out to take on the world, it's time for some very important announcements. First and foremost, you have 3 legal obligations you've been saddled with as a result of having listened to this entire podcast, whether you like it or know it or not. Number 1, rate and review. Do it. Check that box. Move on to number 2. Share the show with one person. Do it. Move on to number 3. Check that box. Use our sponsor codes. Support our sponsors who support us. Texas Home Locators at texashomelocators.com. Birddogs. Birddogs.com. Use the code RBP. Get those nunchucks. ResQUp.com. Use the code Ross. Get your grandparents a ResQUp. Support our sponsors. Check that box. You've checked all 3 boxes. I can call off the dogs. We can all live long and prosper, and I don't have to see you in court. We can all save valuable time and money avoiding a legal battle. Thank you for making sure you check all 3 boxes on all 3 of your legal obligations. Follow us on Instagram at the Ross Bolen Podcast, on Twitter at Ross Bolen Pod. We're also on Facebook.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. You can follow me, Ross Bolen, your host, on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at WR Bolen, at WRBOLEN. And we are also on Twitch.tv/Boss Rollin. That's Ross Bolen with the B and the R reversed, playing Warzone, Fall Guys, and all manner of shit. We're going to be on Warzone in like 40 minutes. If you can believe it or not, you guys won't be able to tune in and see that because this episode will be out like after that stream ends. But if you have the ability to travel back through time, letting you know now, twitch.tv/Boss Rollin. Chris, where can we follow you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Q0ULS. You can find me on Instagram at ChrisSC99. And you can find me on Snapchat at Chris_Coulson. That's COULSON. Also, hit us up at Trash License Plates on Instagram. We're really getting stuff popping. Lots of trash license plates over there. Yesterday, we got a nice one with these this cute couple on a motorcycle, and the license plate said Big Jugs. So if that interests you, make sure you go check them out.
That's classic comedy right there, Chris.
Gotta love
Big Jugs on the motorcycle with the couple riding on it. Check out Bolen Media's television.
They were kissing too, so.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Check out Bolen Media's television and film podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, available wherever the Ross Bolen Podcast is available. Right now, we're covering Lovecraft Country on HBO, as well as Yellowstone. We have started watching Yellowstone. It is phenomenal. We're through 3 episodes of Season 1. Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, available wherever you listen to RBP. And that will do it for RBP 326, produced by Mike Moody Garcia of Permanent Record Studios in Austin, Texas. We will be back Monday with RBP 327, and of course, Friday on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast, patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast, with another exclusive premium ad-free episode just for dues-paying members of the RBP gang, pledging their monthly support to keep the podcast showing and growing. Minimum of just $5 monthly on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. Come through, support the show, get more RBP. Patreon is simply a platform that allows us to bring you more content, circumventing advertising in exchange for your direct financial support. Patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. Thank you again for listening to today's show. Hope you enjoyed RBP 326, and we have enough of a mix of seriousness and silliness to get you through your Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. Those are the only days you were allowed to listen to this episode. If you are listening in Monday or Tuesday right now, you're in violation and you have to do your legal obligations twice. You are not alone. Podmen get paid. Respect Mr. Park. Strength and honor. Gang, gang, gang. Coles, say it.
Peace be with you, and also with you.